So I was thinking the other day about Valentine's Day.
Gotcha.
What is your go-to gift for your significant other for Valentine's Day?
From my experience, I feel like the best gift is one that can alleviate stress for your partner.
It's February in Nebraska. The groundhogs are hiding, the chocolate is on sale, and the inspection prep is heating up.
That's right. Today, we're getting a high-level view from the Deputy Wing Commander. We're celebrating some record-breaking recruiters, and we're talking about what it takes to stay always ready.
From the Nebraska Air National Guard, this is Year 2, Episode 14 of the Phantom Fuel Podcast.
Hey everyone, I know we just wrapped up the holidays, but trust me, you want to mark your calendars for March Drill. The 155th Wing Holiday Party, yes, in March, is happening. We're shaking off the winter blues with a massive celebration. If you want in on the food, the prizes, and the fun, find the flyers around the base or scan the QR code to buy your tickets now. Do not wait until the last minute. Come celebrate with us.
Looking for an exciting part-time job with great benefits? Do something fulfilling and meaningful in the Nebraska Air National Guard. Earn up to 100% tuition assistance and receive world-class training. Find the challenge you're looking for. Call 402-309-1218 and start your journey today.
Fuel your morning mission at the coffee bar. Open 0630 to 0830 every drill weekends in the 155th headquarters break room. And now we're giving the coffee bar a name worthy of Nebraska and the Guard. Got a suggestion? Submit it using the link in the show notes. Once all ideas are in, the base will vote. Make your mark before your coffee gets cold.
Welcome back to the Phantom Fuel Podcast. I'm RJ, and we survived January. The holidays are officially in the rearview mirror, and we are full of steam ahead into 2026. Before we get into the heart of the podcast, we have some great news for those that use the Air Force Connect app. Your favorite Nebraska Air National Guard podcast is now available as a tile. If you don't see it, you have to force close that app and refresh the cache. Oh my gosh, what a hassle. If you don't see it, you have to force close the app, refresh the cache in the settings, and then surprise, we are listed there. The great news is you can listen directly from the app or use the links to direct you to the app you use the most. Thank you to those that made this possible. By now you should know that our goal for Season 2 is to bring fresh voices to you. Last month, we had Lauren from Personnel in the house. This month, we're going to the other side of the base. Sitting across from me is the one and only, the newly appointed First Sergeant over at Security Forces. That's TSgt Joseph. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, RJ. I appreciate the invite. Yes, you are correct. I am one of the newly appointed First Sergeants for the Security Forces Squadron. I'm really excited about the opportunity. It's something that I've been wanting to do for the bulk of my career, and I finally got the opportunity, and the stars kind of aligned, and I've kind of been in the position for a couple of months now, and it's kind of been better than I expected. I appreciate what you do, kind of getting this podcast going, to get the voices out there, to get kind of how we truly feel about things happening in our unit, in our state, in our country. And I think this is a great opportunity to just really kind of let people hear our voices, past what you see in an email or two.
Oh, for sure. And you're wearing the diamond now. You're a shirt for the Defenders. For those who don't know you, give us a quick rundown. How long have you been in, little job history, and what possessed you to take on the First Sergeant role?
Good question. I've been in a total of 17, going on 18 years now. I've been in services my entire career. I was active duty at Offutt for about 8 years, and then I switched over to the Air National Guard just as a transition piece. I didn't think I would stay in this long, but a friend of mine was like, hey, try a year or two, see how you like it, and you can always extend from there. And clearly, as you see from me sitting here, it's worked out. Even when I've been in services, I feel like that can be a thankless job. It's when everything's going smoothly, everybody's happy. When there's an issue or people are expecting hot food, and then you pull out an MRE, people are naturally upset. But, it's nice just to see the reaction from people when you do have something they asked for, or you do have that thing that they thought that you weren't going to be able to get, and now you have it. Stateside services is great. Deploying as services, that's where I really see the vision, because, we're in charge of everything from entertainment, video games, movies, even when you go to eat, I'm the guy that can get you that extra piece of bacon if you want it. So it helps to be good friends with services. But no, as far as first sergeant, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's something that I've always been curious about, but it was never kind of the right timing. And then finally the opportunity came up, and, it was very gratifying and kind of reassuring in a way where when I told people that I was going up for the position, the reaction I got from everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be easy. That makes sense for you," in a sense where it's like, it's not a surprise that I would want to do something like that. And, everyone thought I'd be a good fit. So kind of did my interview and it worked out. And I'm thankful to be in this position to kind of pass on what I've learned and my experience and just kind of help the next generation and just kind of be that advocate. I think that's what's kind of been the most exciting part of the job, is that literally my job is the people. It's my only job. It's my priority. And that's what's exciting, is like giving that airman one piece of advice that maybe he didn't hear, or give him a perspective, or just being someone that they can talk to, without fear of judgment. That's what I've always appreciated from my leaders. And I hope to keep that going with the people I serve now in security forces.
Yeah, you're right. That's a lot. I imagine the transition from working in services, managing the people there, now managing a whole new unit is a big shift. How's the transition going, and how are you holding up?
Transition's going well. I think security forces from the outside in kind of has a bad reputation as far as troublemakers or problem child type of unit. But since being there, I don't see any more issues than I would see in any other squadron. They have their struggles. They have people that get in trouble, but it's not to the point where it's, man, you guys are just kind of doing whatever you want here. That's not it at all. They're very well structured. They really have a sense of brotherhood, community. Of course, they're not without their faults, of course, but I can tell from kind of the leadership down that they're actively trending in a direction that gives the airmen more direction, more communication. Even from talking with the commander, his first message to me is, don't be afraid to tell me I'm wrong or to voice your opinion, which is really refreshing, because he genuinely wants to know my feedback and has told me, hey, behind closed doors, we can fight it out, we can disagree, but once we walk out of here, we're a combined front, we're a team. He definitely hasn't shied away from anything that I've had to say, whether positive or negative. He's leading by example and putting actions behind words. Since being there, it's been completely opposite of what I've expected, and I can see part of it. I'm sure a little bit is the honeymoon phase of it, but I could see myself staying with the unit for a long time.
Well, just like all our other guests, we're glad to have you and your leadership perspective here today. We have a massive show for you for February 2026. But before we get to the heavy hitting stuff, we have a red alert on the social calendar.
That's right. If you've been dragging your feet on the Emerald Social happening over March drill, this is your wake-up call. Planning committee tells us this is the last chance to register. We're talking about the dinner, the music, camaraderie. An excuse to have a night without kids, which I don't know how many of you out there have kids, but even an hour break is a godsend. So if you haven't scanned the QR code on the flyers or click the link in your email to reserve your hotel, do it now. Definitely, this isn't something you want to wait to the last minute.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one hearing about how great it was from all your friends the next morning. Get your tickets now.
Alrighty, let's get into our main feature between two heavy hitters.
Yeah, those heavy hitters. We are taking you into the office of Col Mueller, the Deputy Wing Commander of the 155th. And who better to interview them than our own podcast alum, Chief Eddy.
They cover a lot of ground in this one. Col Mueller talks about his own career path, but he also breaks down what a Deputy Wing Commander actually does. It's a role that people see, but maybe don't fully understand. From my experience, I've always felt, it's nice that leaders lead, but you also want to have a sense of okay, what do you do when we're not around? I've always felt that understanding really helps further connect the unit and just, kind of gives you an idea into the glean of hey, what are they doing when you're not around?
You're absolutely right, Joseph. They don't just stay inside the fence line. They talk about the Guard's impact with the USSTRATCOM, with our state partnership program. It really shows how local guardsmen impacts the global mission.
Here's Chief Eddy sitting down with Col Mueller.
The views expressed by our guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Air Force, Air National Guard, Nebraska Air National Guard, Nebraska National Guard, or any government agency.
Welcome to the Phantom Fuel Podcast. My name is Chief Master Sergeant Col Eddy with the 155th Security Forces Squadron, and today with me I have Colonel Wade Mueller. Currently, as your DSG, is the Deputy Wing Commander of the 155th Air Refueling Wing. So thanks for being here, sir.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been kind of around this since the ground up, so it's cool that you're actually sitting here and going through all this. So I guess give me a quick snapshot of your career, how you got to this point now as being the Deputy Wing Commander, and what that kind of looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I did have kind of a unique career path. I started off active duty Air Force. I actually spent 22 years active duty as an officer, specifically an intelligence officer. And in that career, I very much focused on all the things associated with threats to aircraft, because that's the number one thing that anybody in the Air Force is concerned about if they're flying on an aircraft, is not getting shot down. So I spent a lot of time focusing on air defense threats, and that kind of led me to a lot of specialization within my career. And one of those things was dealing with electromagnetic warfare, because obviously that's a technique that you can use to help defend your aircraft from getting shot down. So I spent a lot of time learning a lot of the technical aspects of electromagnetic warfare, as well as cyber warfare. Those are some other techniques that you can use to disrupt an enemy's air defense systems. And so I kind of specialized in that, and that eventually led me here to Nebraska, because over at Offutt Air Force Base, we have U.S. Strategic Command, and what U.S. Strategic Command's got multiple missions, but one of the areas that they were responsible for when I first came to Nebraska was they were actually the senior combat command to what is now U.S. Cyber Command. So I knew that was a great opportunity for me to come here and work with the cyber folks, specifically in my interest area of disrupting air defense systems. And so I joined the National Security Agency representatives team there at USSTRATCOM, all focused on cyber and those kinds of things. So that's how I ended up here in Nebraska, and that's where I concluded my active duty career after 22 years. And then I actually left service for a while and worked for a civilian cybersecurity company, but I very much miss being in uniform, and so I looked for an opportunity to come back into the Air National Guard, and I did so in 2018, and I've been fortunate to have continued to serve here in the Guard. And during that time, I mostly did Inspector General duty, but then I got the opportunity to, come up and work at Joint Force Headquarters and work with operations and intelligence. And then eventually got the opportunity to go back down to the 155th ARW as a Deputy Wing Commander. That's what I'm doing today.
Awesome. And then your DSG career, and I'll be brief about this, but normally your Deputy Wing Commander is a flyer, right? So what does that look like as far as you being the Deputy Wing Commander, not having the operations piece of it? Is it different, or is it a pretty natural fit for you to be over there with your career everywhere else? I know you were in recruiting for a little bit too, on the active duty side, but is it different being in that realm, or is it pretty natural fit?
It's different, but boy, do I enjoy it. And I really very much value this opportunity, and I really appreciate Colonel Hess having the confidence in me to come in and help him do that. Because as you know, the wing is made up of a lot more than operators or flyers. It's made up of a lot of people doing a lot of important things, and I got a chance to integrate with a lot of those people in my role in the Inspector General. And so I think that perspective is pretty helpful up at the senior level, and Colonel Hess definitely looks to me for a lot of advice on those kinds of things. So that's been a really, really good opportunity, and I really enjoy that. And like I said, with my intelligence background, I did always have a pretty close tie with the flyers, because I spent most of my career focusing on ways to keep flyers alive when they're out there flying. So very much familiar with their work, and very much appreciative of the tasks that they have to deal with when they're out there flying and conducting operations.
All right, and then as the Deputy Wing Commander, I think people see it as a figurehead, or they see you around with the Wing Commander, or attending meetings on his behalf, or acting when he's not here. But what do those duties actually look like? Like, what, as the Deputy Wing Commander, what are you maybe tasked with that isn't usually seen by the airmen within our wing?
Well, I try to help him solve some of the critical problems that he has with the wing. Try to keep eyes on some of the things that maybe he can't spend as much time on as he would like to. But one of the key areas, of course, that we have coming up is all our preparation for our readiness inspection and readiness exercises. And of course, working in the IG, I had a lot of experience doing that. And so right now, I'm very much focused on helping, figure out how we do some of the command and control, and how we actually then function when we do these readiness inspections to make sure that we can optimize our performance and meet the intent of what the Air Force writ large is looking for us to do. So that's been my main focus area, but then I try to get involved in everything else possible, and the leadership, mentorship part of it is the thing that I really enjoy the most.
That's great. And just getting to know you through the years, one of the things that you've helped me with is my vocabulary, just knowing your civilian job of electromagnetic spectrum operations, right? So what do you do full-time outside of here, and what does that job entail on the full-time side?
On the full-time side, I do work for U.S. Strategic Command now, and I am the Senior Technical Advisor to the Director of the Joint Electromagnetic Spectrum Operations Center. And very fortunate to have that position, and very fortunate to work for the director, who is Major General Anne Marie Anthony. And she is a Nebraska Air National Guard member as well. And she's had a brilliant career. And because of her expertise and time flying the RC-135 over at Offutt, she just has all kinds of talent that they were able to use and actually get her promoted to the rank of 2-star general, which is fantastic. And that's a real significant thing, because what happened was at USSTRATCOM, the USSTRATCOM commander, in addition to having his overall mission to be responsible for the nuclear forces, also has responsibility as the operational lead for the Department of War when it comes to all things joint electromagnetic spectrum operations, which includes electromagnetic warfare, which includes spectrum management, and all things related to how the department uses the electromagnetic spectrum to conduct operations. So as you can imagine, that's a pretty broad responsibility. And that's why he has a 2-star general that reports directly to him to manage that. And then I report directly to Major General Anthony as their senior technical advisor, where I can provide all that technical expertise I built up over my active duty career to help her do that the best I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think when you hear those words, I feel like you maybe hear them out, like spectrum operations and electromagnetic. And is there like a dumbed down version of what does that maybe entail? Obviously, it goes very in depth, but what we can actually can talk about, is there something that maybe that entails that a lot of people would understand?
No, absolutely. As you can imagine, we use electromagnetic spectrum for doing everything from all of our radars, all of our communication systems, all of our precision navigation and timing. So think of our GPS and think of all those kinds of uses. So we use a lot of communication data links, pushing data back and forth over the electromagnetic spectrum. We use radars, obviously, to detect threats from all different domains, from the ground domain, from aircraft, from ships, out in space. So everywhere we use the electromagnetic spectrum. Obviously, to do that effectively in military operations, you have to manage it very well. So spectrum management becomes a very big piece of it, so that what we do is we don't have assets that are stepping all over each other when they're using the same frequencies. So that's a big part of managing our use of the spectrum and deconflicting and resolving issues when you do have interference. Then, of course, you have the deliberate disruption of the electromagnetic spectrum, and that's the fun stuff. That's going out there and jamming the adversary so they can't use their radars, so they can't use their communication systems. So we take down their comm links and those kinds of things. And we're doing that, again, across all of the different domains. So that's a big part of it. Another thing that people don't realize that we focus on is directed energy. So all of our fielding and research and development of laser weapon systems, high-power microwave, those kinds of things also fall under our purview as well. So I spend a lot of time working on those issues, working the spectrum management issues, which not only do we have to be able to deconflict with our own military use of those devices, but we also have to deconflict with the civilian sector. So when we go out to training ranges, for example, we have to get frequency allocations, and we have to make sure we're not jamming, 5G towers and things like that in the civilian use of the electromagnetic spectrum. So there's a lot that goes into all that.
That's definitely above probably what I'm capable of producing or understanding. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, with your involvement with STRATCOM, and I guess I'll start here, but we hear STRATCOM all the time. We have the SAC Museum. It seems like it's almost integrated within Nebraska history. But what is just the snippet? Like, what is STRATCOM? Like, we see the building, we know what it is, but what is it?
Well, Strategic Command is one of the functional warfighting commands for the United States. And the function that it has is strategic deterrence. And the way that we deter our adversaries, obviously, is with a very robust nuclear capable force. And so all of the nuclear capable forces, whether there are manned bombers or there are ballistic missiles or there are submarine launched ballistic missiles, are part of that piece. And that's how we really put those pieces together and are able to deter our adversaries. So obviously we have to make sure that we're credible. So those all of those forces have to be able to operate, and they have to be able to operate responsively at a moment's notice. So there's very robust command and control that's associated with all of that, so that we can be assured that those things will work when they need to work. And so that obviously is a major focus, and that's the primary thing that everybody associates with USSTRATCOM. But USSTRATCOM does also have that additional mission that I mentioned, which is to be the operational lead for the department when it comes to joint electromagnetic spectrum operations. And that's specifically the area that I focus on.
That's great. And then when we look at, obviously the Phantom Field podcast and really geared for the Nebraska Air National Guard, but maybe just as the Air National Guard in whole, obviously we have members that work up there, you being one of them, but there's a plethora of them. But outside of people, and maybe that's a piece of it as well, but what does the Guard bring to STRATCOM that maybe impacts us?
The Guard actually is very important to USSTRATCOM, and that is because I mentioned one of the parts of our nuclear triad, of course, is our manned strategic bombers. And there's also some manned command and control aircraft that are used to support that operation as well. And those aircraft need to be refueled because obviously our bombers take off from the continental United States, and they need to be able to get to their targets, which are well outside of our hemisphere and off, in Asia and in Europe. And so because of that, they need refueling. And so air refueling units in the Air National Guard contribute the majority of our air refueling capacity when it comes to our nuclear triad. So air refueling is a huge part of that operation, and the 155th certainly contributes to that.
And then when you look at the people that are maybe involved with STRATCOM, yourself, General Anthony, you just brought up, but how much does that look like? Is there normally a Guard person up at STRATCOM, or do we have people that filter through and helping both the 55th Wing, obviously with the 170th Group, but maybe beyond, and STRATCOM in general?
Yes. At USSTRATCOM headquarters, there's actually only one official Air National Guard billet, and that is an 06. Colonel Janae Lake right now fills that billet. She's actually from the Colorado Air National Guard. But she coordinates Guard matters when it comes to the United States STRATCOM headquarters, which, as I mentioned, is very significant because there's a lot of Guard units that contribute forces to that mission. And so she works that. But what we also have is we do have a lot of members that are on temporary active duty orders, filling billets, filling in at USSTRATCOM in various positions based on their expertise. We have individuals like me that doing a Title V job, so a pure civilian job at USSTRATCOM, obviously with Guard ties. And we just have a lot of other folks. And we have other folks that also do contractor jobs. So a lot of the expertise that we develop here in the Guard, whether it's at the 155th or at the 170th, is very much valued at USSTRATCOM because some of the things that are really required, as I mentioned, is communications. So STRATCOM relies on very robust, very secure communications. So a lot of members that have that background with communications, whether from the 155th or the 170th, or have some cybersecurity type background, very much valued. And so you find a lot of those types of individuals that one way or another are working at STRATCOM in different capacities. Then we also have the 170th that you mentioned over at Offutt. And of course, they are integrated with the 55th Wing, operating the RC-135. And that platform is extremely important to the U.S., and it's important for multiple types of operations. In particular, the expertise that the folks develop at the 170th directly tie into the GEMSO. And I mentioned before that General Anthony, came from that background. And so the Joint Electromagnetic Spectrum Operations, we have actual electromagnetic warfare officers that fly on the RC-135. We have troops that work on the RC-135, in particular maintenance individuals that have expertise in maintaining and tuning those systems that are used to support electromagnetic warfare. And so in particular, there systems that are used for collecting the signals that are necessary to analyze, to identify targets. And so very, very robust there. So all the expertise that's associated with our maintenance folks that work on those systems, that fly and operate the platform, as well as the intelligence folks that then help decipher the information when it is actually collected. All of that expertise is very much valued at STRATCOM for my mission in particular, and then also for the larger mission.
So then, being security forces focused, I think electromagnetic and I think radar, like my mind obviously goes to the ground and drones and all the stuff going on. But this has been going on for longer than just the Russia-Ukraine war, especially obviously you've been around for a couple of years doing this type of work. So both currently now and just kind of the direction we're going, what are things that maybe we need to consider or that we got to think through differently as a military, maybe in general, with the electromagnetic spectrum operations?
There was really so many things to be concerned about. Everything from the fact that you mentioned the drones in particular. That's been a real big change in warfare, and we've seen the dramatic impacts of drones in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So the thing to be concerned about there is not only the adversary that could bring drones against us in various ways, but then also we rely a lot on unmanned aerial vehicles and drones to do operations. So everybody now is looking at ways to disrupt it. And the primary way to disrupt those drones is through the electromagnetic spectrum, jamming the links that are used to control those drones, or even maybe take out the drones directly with like high power microwave. So understanding the fact that the threats, both from the drones and also our ability to disrupt drones is all dependent on the electromagnetic spectrum. And so that becomes very important. And a lot of those signals that are used to do that also cross over into common, communication signals. So if we're talking about doing that kind of a disruption, we might end up disrupting things like Wi-Fi, because those are obviously used in controlling drones and a lot of other common signals. So then again, we have to worry about how do we train and prepare for that threat? How do we present our capability without disrupting our own civilian use or other friendly use of the spectrum. So a lot going on there. And the other biggest area is space. Space is the one warfighting domain that is 100% dependent upon the electromagnetic spectrum, because obviously to control satellites and to do anything in space, you have to communicate with those satellites through a communications link, and that's going to go over the electromagnetic spectrum. So space now is the place where you'll see the most robust efforts to actually disrupt those things, and that includes the jamming and also directed energy types of things. And so nations across the world that have assets out there are concerned about protecting their assets as well as disrupting others. So that's a real area, and there's a good reason why we have now a space force to specifically focus on those kinds of things.
So because STRATCOM oversees, and what was the acronym you use so we don't have to keep saying the EMSO or the GEMSO, right? So I guess with STRATCOM overseeing the GEMSO, is there a lot more involvement now that there is a Space Force, that you're working with Colorado and the Space Force and everything that STRATCOM does? Has that changed some of the mission set and some of the jobs that are being done?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mentioned before that when I first came to STRATCOM, that U.S. Cybercom was still under STRATCOM, as was Space. SpaceCom was a subcomponent of STRATCOM. And so both of those organizations have been elevated to their own combatant command level. But the ties, obviously, to space, especially when it comes to GEMSO, are absolutely critical. And so literally this morning, I was over at my civilian job, and I was on a telecon going over some material that was directly from the Space Force and from SpaceCom, all about how we can better understand the threats and track the threats in the space environment, and how we can actually manage those things. So yes, I was involved with that this morning.
So, by the time this airs, we'll be post the cry. Yes, we will. So we'll be beyond the cry, and then our next kind of inspection or exercise is going to be back to our ADX mission and the NORIs. So when we're out there and we're doing our respective jobs for the NORIs, what piece are we playing into STRATCOM capabilities when we're out there generating our aircraft and doing our jobs?
Oh, the generating aircraft for the NORI for that mission is absolutely vital, because timing is essential. Because if we don't meet our timing, we don't get our aircraft to where they need to go in order to support that mission. And also, we might not survive, because obviously the adversary is going to be doing things, and they're going to be targeting the things that they know are going to be important to us. And so we have to do our job as quickly and as efficiently and effectively and deliberately as possible in order to be successful in that. So practicing that over and over again so that it's just pure muscle memory, so that there isn't a lot of confusion on what needs to happen and what the priorities are and how to solve the key issues that will get in our way of actually launching those aircraft on time. That's fundamental. And so we absolutely have to do that, and we have to do that very well to continue to be effective.
Yeah, and I know when I look at it, maybe from the tactical level and our airmen's level, you go from the Cree and you do the NORI, and then obviously we have deployments and we have our domestic force, and just the amount of stuff that the Guard is tasked with. It really is incredible at what we are able to do, or at least capable of doing. So when you see that from the wing perspective, and even maybe from a STRATCOM perspective, what role do you see the Guard just, I guess, playing for overall national defense strategy, for the governor's capabilities within the state? Just from your level, I just kind of want to get your read on that, on just a brief note on that.
Yeah, the opportunity in the Guard is amazing, and the Guard does contribute so much. Like you said, the state level, the opportunity that we have to support when there's natural disasters, and to provide other support to the state. The state also has some critical state partnership programs with our international partners. And that's pretty exciting. And that, I'd have to say, has been really amazing to watch, because the Nebraska's relationships have grown significantly. And so under our current TAG's leadership have really exponentially increased. And that has a huge national impact as well. And the fact that we have good partnerships that the states have been establishing gives us a direct link to their militaries. And so that's just a great partnership that we're able to leverage. And so that's a big contribution that people don't realize how important that is. So all those things that we do with state partnership, they pay off in so many ways that are even beyond what we might initially recognize when we're just going out and doing maybe one individual engagement. It's that relationship building that's so important. And so we're doing that well. So that's important. And obviously the contribution to the federal mission, the fact that we have that continuity, that we have people here that have been doing, like you said, the NORI type exercises for so long. They understand that mission set, and they've been doing it over and over again, from this location. They know all the nuances of it, and you just don't get that on the active duty side, because you don't have that kind of continuity. So we really bring a lot of deep expertise that is very much valued and very much essential to that mission.
That's great. I don't know, it's always cool to hear the perspective from what you see in a wing leadership position. Obviously, your time over here is the A2 on the intel side. It's just cool to see that broader picture. We've done recruiting engagements before. Took them to Nebraska basketball game. It was fun, and we took them around the state. Took them to Cabela's, which is always a hit when the Czechs are in town. And then we have another engagement coming up here shortly. So seeing those reciprocating effects it's powerful to see. And obviously, pretty much all of life should be done by relationships, but it doesn't change within our military operations, which is pretty neat. So thank you for that. And then with your background, especially on the active duty side, being in intel, and I've been able to see some of your intel presentations and what we have going on. What's some light that you can shed on maybe the intel perspective in an unclassed public environment about the direction of the world and the climate we live in, and maybe things we need to be thinking about or be prepared for as a Guard?
I would say that I think it's pretty clear. Anybody that watches the news can see how dynamic the international environment is. And the fact that there are so many things going on, both openly and then behind the scenes, some things that, we didn't think were thinkable, just a few years ago have become the norm. The fact that, of course, Russia invaded Ukraine and that long, bloody conflict. That's something that nobody really imagined would happen, based on the way that the world had evolved, but it did. There's also a lot, obviously, going on in the Indo-PACOM theater. And, people don't realize that how aggressive some of our, other countries of concern are when it comes to developing capabilities. They're doing everything from, like I said, trying to manipulate the international order and disrupt our access to things in the world, and to leverage things to put them at an advantage. But in addition to that, they're building their military, and they're building capacity, and they're building capability. and they're stealing as much as they can from us as well. And so there's a lot going on at a lot of different levels. And so I think it's really hard to be able to nail down one thing in particular. But I would say that the only thing that we can really anticipate is that we're going to continue to be challenged, and we're going to continue to be surprised, and we're going to continue to deal with the way that technology impacts and changes the threat environment. So there's a lot of rapid things taking place, but that sounds on the negative side. But I would say on the positive side is the amount of innovation that we have here in the United States, the amount of resources that we have, and our ability to really come together and leverage those things and be witting of the challenge and know that we're always going to be, forced to look at things in a new way. I think we do that better as a country than anybody else in the world. And so I think we'll be fine. I don't know exactly everything that will happen in the future, but I know it will be interesting and challenging.
And so with those, the world events and the world we live in, and all the 24-hour news cycle seems to just be something brand new every single day. If you could have our newest airman back from basic training and tech school in front of you right now, what would be your message to that person about what should their focus be? How can they actually contribute to this overall stage and what we're doing? And what would be your message to him or her?
I think the message is to be the absolute best that you can be at the missions that we're going to train you to do, and take every opportunity to learn the details of those missions, to throw your heart into it, to be a warrior first, to take care of your mind and your body, and be focused, and to not be overly distracted by all of those things, because there are things that will be going on, above your level that, you might say, well, I don't know what's going on here or what's going on there. But there's a lot of, people at the various levels and various levels of experience that will deal with it. But the best thing that you can do is just be ready, be ready mentally, be ready physically, be good at what you do. And if you do that, that's going to, help everybody out. And that's the best thing you can do. Is so you just bring it down to yourself and just keep your focus and don't let yourself get distracted.
That's great. And so I guess whether it's our newest airman or, an 05 or anywhere in between, as the deputy wing commander, what would be maybe a parting message you'd have for the men and women of the Nebraska Air National Guard?
Oh, the parting message I would have is that this group of folks is truly the absolute best I have ever served with on active duty. Like I said, I had 22 years, served with some really great people, got some amazing experiences, lots of great deployments, lots of different places in the world that I served. But, the people in the Nebraska Air National Guard and the Nebraska National Guard in general just are amazing. It's a culture that we have in the state. It's the dedication to each other, the dedication to the state and to the nation. It's just unquestionable, to a person. And I think that's something that everybody should definitely cherish, and cherish the fact that we come from an amazing state. And the opportunities and the leaders that we've had, I think, are pointing us in such a great direction at the state level for sure, and really aligned with our national mission and understand that, but also looking for these great opportunities to engage our communities throughout the state. Those are just phenomenal. Like you said, with relationships, whether they're at our community level or internationally, that's something that I think we do better than anybody in Nebraska or anybody in the United States.
Yeah, and it is cool just to see we don't ever do it for trying to get anything out of the deal, right? And it is cool just to see the relationships built around the state, around the country, around the world, and starting to see some of these firsthand. It's absolutely incredible. But I have grown to appreciate. I have grown up in the Guard. I've only been Guard. I've had the opportunity to deploy a few times and be around active duty, been assigned to the Army for a while. I transferred states, but I've never done the active duty piece. If there's one thing I've learned, and we all know about blind spots, but having people that have the experience outside, I do think we take our peers and our subordinates and our supervisors for granted, because the culture here, it's just different, and it's really cool to be around. So I appreciate that insight. I think that hits home because I've never had as much experience out. I've been in this unit for 17 years. So hearing that insight from somebody that, you can say came from the outside to a certain degree, it's awesome to hear, even though you've been here for almost a decade. So any final words, Colonel Mueller, before we head out for the day?
All right, just again, thank you for the opportunity to do this, and hopefully everybody that listens to this will learn a little something different that maybe they didn't understand. But the biggest thing is, I wanted to let you know again that I appreciate the Guard, and I appreciate everybody I've worked with here, and I hope you feel the same way. And if you don't for whatever reason, I'm sure that there's people in the Guard here that can help make that better for you. So don't worry about that. Just find good mentors, because they're everywhere in our Air National Guard.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Great insights there. It's always good to hear the why behind the mission directly from the top. Usually it's, an email or, in passing from somebody piggybacking on someone else. It's really nice to hear directly from the source how they feel about any particular subject, and just, understand them more as a person and not just someone with rank.
Moving on to what's happening around the state. If you missed it, there is a video circulating on the Nebraska National Guard Facebook page you need to see.
Yeah, it's the end of year recap from the Big Three: Major General Strong, Command Sergeant Major Kreklau, and Chief Tonnegaud. They didn't just talk Air Force, they covered the Army side too, which is nice.
The theme of that was always ready, always there. It's easy to get tunnel vision in our own shops, but when you see the reel of what this state accomplished in 2025, it's very impressive.
Speaking of impressive numbers, RJ, did you realize we missed a birthday?
I know. I was looking back, and how did I not mention that in last episode?
A little late, but of course not forgotten. December 23rd marked the Nebraska National Guard's 171st birthday. Hard to think now, but we started back in 1854.
Yep, in 1854, that is pre-Civil War. Can you imagine that? This is before Nebraska was even a state. It was just a territory then. It's wild to think about the lineage from the militia on the frontier to the KC-135s and the cyber warriors we have today. Happy birthday to the Nebraska National Guard.
Yes, for sure. Happy birthday. We'll get you a cake. It's in the mail. But yeah, we have to keep that lineage going, which brings us to the recruiting team. Over January drill, they were coined for record-breaking sessions in 2025, which the numbers are not only important, but also the fact that they're filling those slots with quality candidates. They're not just trying to fill a quota. They're getting in between the details, past the things that are on the surface. I've talked to the recruiting team before, and it's clear that they have a real passion for really helping grow the unit to a strong stance, and not just one that looks good on paper.
Oh, you're right. They've been hustling. If you see a recruiter, give them a high five or say hi, or maybe buy them a coffee or go to the coffee bar. You never know. Because they are clearly not sleeping. They are building the future of this organization.
And for the present organization, hey, we have to talk about the 155th. The grind is absolutely real right now.
Agreed. The CRI, Combat Readiness Inspection. It is coming up fast to everyone in the wing, preparing gear, scrubbing checklists, and running scenarios. We see you and appreciate all your hard work.
100%. Having been through a few inspections and services, and now experiencing for the first time in security forces, I understand the stress. But, what's the saying? Pressure makes diamonds. That's how I kind of truly feel about the meaning behind these exercises. They're not designed for us to perform them perfectly. They're designed to find cracks and areas and where we can improve, so we can still kind of trend in the direction of improving a little each day. It's not something where, I think from kind of talking with upper leadership, it's kind of one of those things where if we were 100% perfect, I feel like we're not looking closely enough. So it's been an power to me and our leadership. It's kind of like to push the airmen just a little bit to try to understand, okay, what's our limits? How can we do these tasks in a safe manner while also producing the desired results? So I kind of feel like it's an opportunity for us to grow as a unit and to be stronger overall.
Now, Joseph, since we are in February, we have a strange mix of holidays this month.
Yeah, we are in kind of a weird time right now with a lot of things going on. I mean, we kicked it off with Groundhog Day, so I don't know if you're a fan, but I didn't check. Did the rodent see a shadow? Are we still doing that? Or are we still getting 6 more weeks of winter? I've always been unsure of exactly how that works, but hey, if it works for the groundhog, I guess it could work for me too.
To be fair, no matter what he saw, it's Nebraska. We never know what's going to happen here.
You're right. Also, in a few days, we're going to have Valentine's Day. So for all you out there that have waited till the last minute to buy a gift, which should be no one listening to this podcast, right? Make sure you're getting your gifts ordered, the flowers, or, whatever your spouse, likes to enjoy for Valentine's Day. Here's a little secret I'm kind of going to share with you guys that kind of worked for me. Everyone's expecting a gift on Valentine's Day. There's nothing saying that you can't do something a little earlier than that as a surprise. Maybe Valentine's Day is on Friday, whatever day it is. Maybe have some flowers delivered on Wednesday, catch your spouse off guard. Hey, just throwing it out there. It's up to you.
Yep, that's right. To all the airmen out there, do not forget. Make sure you take the time to make your loved ones a priority.
Right. And since I'm a first sergeant now, of course, I have to give a little safety brief. If you're buying jewelry or anything expensive for Valentine's Day, just make sure it's in your budget. Don't let the sales guy talk to you into a 28% interest rate on a ring. Come see me first. Maybe I can help with that. Do not do what they do in the commercials and buy your spouse a brand new car without at least running it past them first. It's not like the movies. I can promise you that.
Oh my gosh, solid advice. And that's also coming from someone who knows a bit about selling and buying big items. And finally, President's Day, a time to reflect on leadership and hopefully enjoy a day off if your civilian employer is generous.
But seriously though, for the actual February safety, we're in the thick of kind of a freeze-thaw cycle right now. Mornings are icy, afternoons can be a little slushy, so slips, trips, falls are pretty much the enemy right now. I mean, it's out there. Whether you're walking into the hangar or walking into the grocery store, keep your hands out of your pockets and eyes on the ground. You want to make sure you're ready at any point to potentially catch yourself in a slip. As far as driving, 4-wheel drive helps you go, but does not help you stop on the ice. So make sure you're not driving out there with bald tires. Me, I work at a car dealership here in Lincoln. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to that assume just because you have 4-wheel drive that you can conquer anything, because those same drivers also have tires that they haven't replaced for the last 5 years and are going bald. So, in my experience, a good set of tires beats 4-wheel drive every time.
I so appreciate and love that you're bringing this first sergeant role to the podcast. Speaking of roles, you made it through the episode 14. No major violations committed on air. Yeah, that's terrible first sergeant humor, but how do you feel?
Oh, really cool. Really cool, honestly, because, I'll listen to podcasts, when I'm coming into work or leaving or even just kind of sitting on my desk sometimes. So this has definitely been a different experience to kind of see what it's like. And it's not as easy as it sounds on the other side. So, yeah, please excuse me if I flubbed a couple words or two, but definitely respect to you podcasters out there.
Well, we appreciate you joining the podcast and hearing your story. It's great to have a first sergeant perspective in the studio.
Also, let me throw in there, we want to hear your feedback. Anyone who's listening to this, if you've made it to the end, thank you for that. We want to hear your feedback, whether it be positive, especially if it's negative, because the only way we can get better to give you guys a better product and kind of a better experience is by knowing what we're lacking at and where ways we can improve. Tie that into the cry. That's essentially what we're doing. We're going through experience and trying to figure out what we're great at, but also how we can improve. So please, all feedback is good feedback.
That's right. Down in the show notes, there is a link there. Tell us what you liked, tell us what we missed, or volunteer to come sit in this chair, just like Tech Sergeant Joseph just did. We are hoping to have a co-host each month in 2026. Come help fill that goal.
Also, you got to thank the team behind the scenes, Chief Nelson, Master Sergeant Davlin, Major Vu, Kevin Haynes, and the whole innovation team for keeping the lights on and the audio clear. So please, when you see them out there, thank them for their hard work.
And also thank you to Colonel Mueller and Chief Eddy for that insightful interview. But before we sign off, a few quick reminders. Get registered for the Emerald Social. Check out that coffee bar over drill weekend. If interested in joining the Guard, contact the recruiting team. Check out the Phantom Fuel podcast, now available for service members using the Air Force Connect app, and use that feedback link to let us know how we are doing. And real quick, before we sign off, I apologize. On behalf of the Phantom Fuel podcast, for some reason, Joseph's mic, while we were recording, decided to say, we want to pick up the entire office, every click, every mouse, every email, every sound effect. So I thank you so much for Tech Sergeant Joseph for hanging out with us today, and appreciate, we're just re-recording the ending here so we can make sure that you have the proper ending for the podcast. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Phantom Fuel podcast, thank you so much. And don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all the podcast apps. Share this podcast with other airmen, soldiers, and their families. This really does help grow the Nebraska voice. Okay, until next time, take care, stay safe, stay connected, and keep fueling that mission.